What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to cover everything there is to know about the new Vexed whiting system. If you've watched any of our videos on these new bottom worms and micro meats, you'll see they absolutely kill the pig. So we've actually got Willie from Vexed here today, and we're going to go through everything there is to know. We're going to give you a rundown on the full system, all the different weights and colors. We're pretty much just going to give you a full rundown on them. Before the video gets started, we're going to give two of you guys a chance to win 2 Vexed prize packs. It's super simple. All we want you to do is let us know what your favorite color and size Vexed bottom worm or Vexed micro meat is and why. Really simple guys, just let us know in the comment section below. In a week's time from when this video is uploaded, we're going to draw 2 winners out of the subscribers. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, let us know what your favorites are, and put it in the comment section below. In a week's time, we'll announce the winners on this video's comment section. So good luck guys, and I hope you enjoy the video. All right, so let's get stuck into the video.
Hi guys, P. Willie here, also known as One Take Willie. Now first I'd like to apologise to anyone I offend for my poor choice of words, but you must know that I'm trying my absolute best to be someone other than myself. So I'm going to do the rundown, the full rundown on the Vexed whiting system, which covers the new Vexed bottom worm, I love saying that for some reason, micro meat and bottom meat junior. Plus all the new rigs that everyone's been hassling me for to get here on time, which I absolutely failed on doing. So I don't know whether his fancy little camera is going to pick this up, but this in a snapshot is the Vexed whiting system. Now traditionally people just use a double dropper with a couple of bits of cut squid or prawn with a sinker on the bottom. Now that works. It's worked for years and it'll continue to work. But what I'm doing here is I'm just showing you a new way of probably refining that system to make it a little bit more user friendly and to be able to adapt different types of hooks, different types of configurations and different types of colors which suit different types of baits which we got down here. So I'm just going to run through the color system. I've probably gone a little bit overboard in terms of matching the colors to the heads, but I'm a pedantic orangutan human being. So let's just have a look at what I've done here. I've just got an array of things that whiting like to eat. Now, most people are one-dimensional in the way they use bait for whiting. So you're either a squid dude, a worm dude, or a coral prawn dude, and if you're over east you're using cockles, sorry Victorians, pippies, or what are those other things, mussels, which we don't tend to use here in WA too much. Now that's supposed to be a squid, but I failed on catching a squid last night because it's dirty water, excuses. So I've got a stinking ugly little cuttlefish which also work, but like all the people say, oh, they're just as good at eating a squid, people that can't catch squid, they're not quite as good a bait as a squid, but they do the trick. So let's run you through, I'll get back to the bait later, let's run through the styles. So the reason I developed micro meat and bottom worm is basically it's off the back of the really successful creation that I came up with called the Vexed bottom meat, which are up on the wall here behind me, which I can't believe he hasn't sold all of those. But anyway, so this is like the same concept kinda as a bottom meat, but you're fishing this one on the bottom. A bottom meat isn't designed to be fished on the bottom or on the seafloor like this one is. But going back to the poster, I'm going to drag your fancy little camera back to the poster. This is kind of a traditional whiting rig if you swap that out with a sinker or something like that. Now this hook here catches 70% of your whiting, I feel, thereabouts. This one catches the 30%, the other 30%. This one catches more poo fish, undesirables. This one catches more whiting. When they're banging you get whiting on both, but generally if they're not banging, the whiting are on the bottom hook more so. Whiting are feeding down here. So for years we've been using a sinker. We're not catching fish with sinkers. So I've developed this bottom worm system to be a fish catching sinker. back to where the little worms are poking their heads out, prairie dogging. The whiting are sniffing around along the bottom here. This is cruising along the bottom as you drift, unless you're a Victorian and anchor, or we're going to teach West Australians how to anchor one day, but we don't know how to do it. So if you're bumping along the bottom, that's puffing up sand. And the whiting are going to be predominantly feeding around here. They will come up here, but that's where he wants to eat. It's like basically eating outside on a cold day at a restaurant. You don't want to be outside, do you? You want to be inside in the warmth, but sometimes you just have to sit outside because there's no seats. So that's basically the concept that I'm trying to do there. Now, during testing, which we've tested this system for 18 months, we've caught more whiting on the bottom, as you can see on his silly little videos that he does, than we have been catching on this one or this one. So basically the whiting are feeding along there, puffing up the sand, feeding on there. Sometimes we're getting double headers and sometimes triple headers. Well, he doesn't get many triple headers. But anyway, I'll show you the different configuration of hook. Again, I might have gone overboard in the amount of configurations I got, but I just want to try and please everyone because that's the sort of guy I am. So that's a little circle. There's circle guys and there's J hook or long shank guys. The premature yanker is no good for a circle. If you keep doing this, you're not going to fish a circle very successfully. You got to let the fish take it into its mouth or just put it in the rod holder. Now, when the fish are really, really subtle biting, or if you're a traditionalist, which I understand people are, it's cool, that is your long shank. Now, if they're just nibbling, a long shank's better. And if you are a yanker, a prolific yanker, you like to rip the lips off a fish, because sometimes you just can't breathe that out of someone, and it's fine if that's the way you fish. The long shank is for you. Now, how do you rig that up? Well, you don't fish it without bait. I haven't designed these to fish without bait. That's the first thing. A few people I've showed, they say, no, you need to have bait for whiting. You pretty much do. We have caught whiting on these without bait, but basically not as many as if you trick it up. Look at that. So you've got your stretchy little bottom worm, and then you've got a little bit of bloodworm on the bottom there. Look at that colour matching, guys. I think I've done all right there. That there's called the red worm colour. So basically, bloodworms that you dig out the river, or beach worms that you pull out the beach, which we don't have the luxury of being able to do in WA because we don't have any. Coral prawn, which I don't think is a commonly used bait over east, but it's probably one of our most popular used baits in Western Australia. Well, in southern Western Australia, I should say. And then we have the sticky pippy. So I've made that like an opaque sort of cockle flesh colour. It's hard to match the colour of a cockle because they come in so many shades. And then I've done what I was going to call the love mussel that Tim made me change to chili mussel and spoil all the fun. That is a beautiful little representation of a mussel. Again, we don't use a lot of mussels in WA, but if you pull some of them off the pylon on the way out without busting your boat into it too hard, free bait, really good bait. Luke misses out, you get fresh bait. And we can get cockles or pippies in the Swan River, but they're not this shape. They're the little flat soft ones. But again, we don't utilize them much in WA. We need to do better with learning how to use them like the Victorians and South Australians do. So I'm just going to get on to the next style. So I've covered the long shank, I've covered the circle. Now the next one is the micro meat. So they were bottom worms. This is a micro meat. Now that can be used on its own as a bay rubber for jigging for snapper and small Samson fish and all that sort of stuff. Or you can put a strip of squid on that, just like this, which I've done with the bottom meat junior, but this is basically the same animal, just with a triple hook. But you can put a beautiful little strip of tentacle on there, a little strip of salted muley. You can load it up with mussel or pippy as well, and you can fish it that way. And I like to fish a bigger bait. If I'm using this on the paternoster as the sinker, like I'm going to show you later, I like using a bigger bait on the bottom for a bigger on average whiting. So that there is micro meat, bottom meat junior, which is what I just showed you. So these all go up to 130 grams and right down to 3.5 grams. So a little strip of bait on that, and that shape you can't jig as a lure because it folds over on itself. This shape is designed to puff up the maximum amount of sand to create the most amount of annoyance on the bottom to attract the whiting from as far away as possible. So bottom meat junior, big one. Bottom meat junior, where did you put that little one? Little one, and that one there's about 20 grams. They go right down to a baby little 3.5 grams. That's 5 grams, but there's one even smaller than that. So a white bait, a strip of muley for other fish as well, not just whiting. A really, really cool little fish catcher. And having the 3 hooks is not there to basically destroy fish. It's there to present a bait like that. So the whiting will come chewing up there, and anywhere he hits those 3 hooks, he's coming home for dinner. Let me tell you that. So that is the 3 styles. Sizes, as I mentioned, 3.5, the little tiny one there, and these are the same sizes in micro meat, the worm with the long shank and the worm with a circle. They're all the same sizes and pretty much the same colors. Now these are the head packs. So the head packs have been designed simply because I can't get the right hook to head configuration right for everyone. I've just sort of gone on what I reckon is the right size hook for the right size head, as you can see down there. But I know there's going to be guys fishing shallow water on the side of banks for big fish, and they're going to only want a 20 gram head, but they're going to want a size 1 or 1.0 hook. So basically what you can do is you can buy a packet of these in the right color that you want. You can buy a head pack anywhere from 3.5 grams all the way through to 130 grams, and you can match them up to the perfect size or hook to head size ratio. So I just thought I'd do that, and also it's a little bit more economical to buy them in a 5-pack, and you'd need obviously 2 of those. I didn't do my maths right. I'm not very good at maths, but I can lift heavy things. So basically you can mix and match them, and just have a look on the wall there. There's a huge array of colors which match the heads perfectly as well. So that's heads covered, the 3 shapes and all the sizes covered, and the spare part accessories. Now I also do spare worm. The spare worm's not to put on here because if this craps out, it's really hard to cut that and put it on there. The spare worm is when you're making your own paternoster rig. You can basically just cut some off and you can slide it along the line like this before you tie the hook trace on. So it's basically just a bit of stretchy worm. Now this worm here is TPE, so she's super stretchy and it's very durable. It's not leather jacket or blowfish durable, but it is more durable than your standard sort of PVC soft plastic. Now the worm there just it's an attractor obviously, so it attracts the fish to the bait, but it also gives you a second bite of the cherry. Now I don't like to use too much hang off like that. I'd probably trim mine there, but it just looks better for the camera. But if a fish pulls that off, there's a good chance he's going to come back for that, because it's going to stink. It's going to smell like the back end of a bandicoot, because all the juices from that has washed into that, and it's basically a smelly little offering. So you might get a second bite at the cherry by having that stretchy worm on there. So that is the accessory part. Now I've done the colors I've done in this. I've done a squid tentacle color, because the most common bait used for whiting in southern Australia, I feel, is squid tentacle, probably not worm. definitely in WA. Look at that. I think I matched the hatch all right. That's called live squid, that colour. And then I've got a more white colour, which is called albino. Again, I've probably gone over the top with colours, but better more than not enough, right? Bloodworm. Sandworm. So that is another accessory part, which is probably more going to suit the rigs, and if you're tying your own rigs. This is another product, which is the Vexed Bottom bait thread, and for whiting, it's absolutely got no purpose at all. So just thought I'd show you that. All right, so now I'm going to show you some of the rigs. Now the rigs, I wanted to do something a little bit different with rigs. Now, this is one of the examples of one of our new rigs. So rolling swivels, I used to use 360-degree three-way swivels or cross-line swivels or deep drop swivels, depending on what brand you buy. But they're physically too heavy, and there's 3 knots on every one. So 3 knots on every one is a lot of knots in the rig. Some of the rigs, if you're tying 3 droppers, I'm not good at maths, but there's a whole heap of knots, right? So to simplify and reduce the amount of weight, we've crimped in a rolling swivel, which will swivel out, which will swivel that way, and obviously that way as well. So you don't twist up as much, and I've done a really heavy mainline. Because when it comes to King George and Sam whiting, so people care about the leader diameter and whether it's fluorocarbon, but the fish don't. So get it out of your head. They just want the bait. Sometimes you get people over here saying, oh yeah, but you're going to use fluorocarbon, you have to use that, and then they put a bit of red tube on there. Think about it, buddy. Think about it. It's like eating a hamburger with a piece of rope in it. When I'm hungry, I don't care. If there's a hair in a hamburger, I'll eat it. I'll just pull it out and keep going. I don't care. I don't take it back to the counter and say, oh, there's a hair in here. Whiting are the same. They don't care. They want the bait. So I've made this out of 20, 40, 60 and 80 pounds. So much, much heavier. That way, if you hook a banjo ray or a little shark or a big flathead, you've probably got more chance of retaining your rig, firstly, and catching the fish. This is a triple header. So this one's called a triple header whiting rig. Now, some will ask, why have you done a triple header whiting rig? Well, why catch 2 at a time when you can catch 3? Some states you're not allowed to, I understand, but in Western Australia, we're allowed 3 hooks or 3 hook sets. You cannot put a micro meat or a bottom meat on the bottom of that when you've got 3 droppers, because that's illegal in WA at least. So basically I've done a double header one as well, which is basically just that. I've got one here, I'm not going to show you because it just looks like that. That's what the packaging looks like. There's also a King George rig, which is that one. What makes it a King George rig? Just circles rather than long shanks. So I've just done a long shank rig, a bigger sinker too in the King George rig, and I've done a running rig, which is here somewhere. Here it is. So I've done a running rig as well. Now, in WA we don't use running rigs as much as you do on the East Coast, but basically just a running sinker between 2 hooks there. Again, you can't really put a micro meat on the bottom there because it's just not configured and it will tangle up. So the running rig's no good for attaching a bottom meat in place of the sinker. So if I pull out a triple header whiting rig, if I bend these hooks out over time by catching too many whiting or a big flathead or hooking the bottom, for instance, let's just pretend that this hook's buggered. I just snip that off, and then what I can do is I can use one of these hook sets. For example, I can untwist or twist off that. So I've got my little twist, I've got my little swivel there. I'm going to try and go as slow as possible so you can see. Oh my god, look at that. I just twisted on a little long shank with a nice little bit of fluff and a little worm on there. So I can twist on any hook size I want. I can twist on circles, I can twist on different colors, and if that poos out with a dirty big wrasse or a flathead, I can twist that off. I can buy a packet of those and I can twist on anything I like. So basically, if this has 2 hooks now, it's now legal for me to dispatch of that sinker that does nothing other than sink your rig to the bottom. And now I can attach my coral prawn 40-gram circle head, and now I have a fish catching sinker. So this rig will simply catch more fish now that I've got a bait in the zone. Back to the picture, in the zone where those fish are feeding. So that is one of the main points of this new whiting system by Vexed. Again, if I want to swap out and go back to my traditional ways, I can just bang on a sinker. Now, after making the rigs, I suppose, a little bit more universal like this, I decided to do what is called a bottom noster blank. So I've done the blank just in case you don't want, you want to customize your rigs from the get-go. So I've done a bottom noster single, and I'll show you them, a double and a triple. So this here is the single. It's very simple. It's not, there's nothing special about this. It's just a strongish piece of main line, which on this one's about 30, it's about 40 pound. I can't read the packet. It's got a clip on the bottom and it's got a swivel on the top. So how do I load this? Well, let me show you. If I'm fishing that 18 meter spot and it's 12 to 15 knots, I'll be using 100 or 130 gram head to stay on the bottom. There you go. So that is going to be my predominant fish catcher, in my opinion anyway. Now, at the top here, I have a 3-way rolling swivel where I can grab, let's say, if I want to put a long shank, I can grab a packet like this. I can buy a packet of those, and I'm not going to rip that packet open, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist this off there. That one's too small. And I am going to twist this size 1 or 2 long shank by simply doing that. You can kind of do it by feel if you don't have good eyes, and there we go. So that there is my single noster bottom rig. This one here used to be the big catcher when there was a sinker at the bottom. Now that's the secondary catcher, and that is your big catcher that's fluffing up the dust on the bottom. So the double noster, I'm not going to go too hard into this, but the double noster is basically an extra hook, and the triple noster is an extra hook again. So just in WA, you cannot use a sinker on the bottom of that triple, like this picture shows, or one of the pictures shows anyway. Yeah, so that is the system, guys. It's pretty simple, not rocket science, but I think it'll really, you can really customize the way you fish. Now, the last thing that I'd add on this bottom noster system, if you get a packet of these, right, for example, and you want to make your own dropper rigs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip one out and show you. So I'm going to quickly rip this out so you can buy one of these. If you're a bit of a traditionalist, which is cool, you can just rip this open. It shows you on the side what's in there. So clip, 1 dropper, 2 dropper, 3 dropper. Now, I'm useless at peeling these off, but I'm just going to rip one off like Luke at the drive-in with his clothes. So here we go. That is it. All you need is some 20, 30 or 40 pound fluorocarbon and I'm going to just cut one off here to show you. You need some 20, 30 or 40 pound fluorocarbon, or if you're fishing shallow water, you can use lighter stuff. A packet of worm like this, if you want to put stretchy worm on it. If you've got some long shanks kicking around at home, you can just simply tie on a dropper. I'm just going to do a over the top granny knot there just to show you. All right, and now I've just made myself a really simple paternoster rig. I've just fast tracked it, and when you finish using that, you can use this rig over and over again, as long as you don't lose it on the reef or to a shark or a banjo or something like that. You can change that out. This branch line, all my prototypes I've used on his boat 7 or 8 times. I've still got 3 of the 5 prototypes that I'm still using. I'm just changing these out. I don't use hooks twice. If I go out and have a good day, I'll throw that hook away. I'll just retain the bit of worm, I'll tie a new hook on. It's not worth missing a 50 centimeter whiting for a 20-cent hook. So that is the system, guys. The triple, the single and the double. There is some big boys here as well, but this is all about whiting, so I'm not going to get into depth on these. But imagine attaching one of those or one of those to that rig there. You can put 2 or 3 on if you're fishing down south or up north, not in the metro area, of course. And you've got a really attractive rig there that's going to catch better than just about anything. So I'm not going to waffle on anymore because Luke's going to get hungry and want to go get his lunch. So we're giving away a couple of prize packs. Luke's going to get into a bit more detail on that, and he's going to be asking what's your favorite color. Now be careful because I'm sensitive, because I've done a lot of work on these colors. So you tell me what your favorite color is and why, and tell me what sort of colors I've got wrong, or if I'm missing anything. Luke can relay it to me and I can put more colors in so he has to buy them. All right guys, that's it. That's the system. Any questions, contact Luke or Vexed, and Tim will answer them if you don't like Luke answering your questions. And we'll do our best to make this system as good as it possibly can be. So if you got any negative feedback, we also want to hear it, so we can try and get this system as good as it can possibly be. All right guys, thanks for your time.
All right guys, I hope that you've got all that information in your brain. There's a lot there to kind of go over, but guys, we hope you enjoyed that video. If you like that, subscribe to the channel and we will see you in the next video. Cheers.